Hi gang, how's it going? Joe here, just giving you, a video to show you something that I've decided to part ways with, something that I'm decided to sell. And that is if you've seen the band, you'll know this guitar very well. My, Buttercream Fender Strat. So I've decided to sell this guitar, and I decided to do a little video to talk about it. And so if you're interested in it, I'm going to tell you a bit about this guitar and what it's done and what I've done to it. So I've decided to put this guitar up for auction, and I was going to do that anyway, but I thought, you know what? I know an awful lot of people, guitar players up and down the country, people who've seen the band over the past few years and probably seen this guitar in action many times. So I thought I'd do a video kind of, to you guys as well, because I thought maybe there's somebody who's looking to upgrade, or maybe wants to own a piece of the history of 5 Points Gang, or a piece of my history, I suppose. But apart from that, there's probably nobody who wants to own one of those, any of that, but it's a great guitar. And I was going to do a video on it anyway, just to explain about the guitar and why it's special. But I also thought I would kind of turn it into like a history of this guitar and what it's done. And I'm very attached to it. Yeah, so one thing I wanted to mention is that I've decided that I'm going to auction this guitar, and I don't know any other way to do it than on the most famous auction website, so it's probably going to go onto eBay. But I've decided that I'm going to give 10% of the sale price of this guitar to charity. Many of you will probably know that my mum passed away a couple of years ago from breast cancer. And I decided, it'd be a good thing to do to donate a portion of this sale. I would donate more, but I can't afford to do that, so it's all I can afford to donate at the moment. But 10% of the sale price of this guitar. And I thought where to donate this to. The hospital that looked after Mum and gave her palliative care at the very end was fantastic. It's called a Buthan Newydd. It's in Princess of Wales Hospital in Bridgend. But and she also had amazing care from Velindre Hospital in Cardiff. They were also amazing people. In fact, there were so many amazing people in the NHS. But I think I would like to donate the portion of this sale to Cancer Research UK. So yeah, that's something that if you do buy this guitar, you can know that a portion of the proceeds are going to go to charity, a very, very good charity. So with that bit of the video out of the way, I'm going to tell you something about this guitar. I'll tell you what I'll do. If you're watching this video on YouTube, I'll put, and you don't know me and you don't care anything about my history of this guitar, I'll put a link so that you can go straight to the part of the video that will give all the text back, so you haven't got to listen to me talk about all this rubbish. But yeah, this is a Fender Mexican Player Strat, which I bought 2017, I think, 2018 maybe. I can't remember, but it was the very beginning of when 5 Points Gang became a thing, and I got this guitar before we did our very first EP, and I'll put some footage of the EP in now. So that was the very first thing that we recorded. So that was several drummers ago. And yeah, I had a different guitar, but I decided it had to be a Strat for the band. So I went out and got something, and I searched very hard to find a really good Strat. And I didn't have a lot of money, so Mexican Strats made sense. And I went through a lot of them. I remember going into PMT in Cardiff and trying out loads, and then there was this one that just had a vibe, and it just has a resonance and a playability. It had the whole package. You play 10 Strats and then one Strat does it. This is one of those Strats that does it. It's a great guitar. It is better than many American standards that I've played, which are £1,000 more. Yeah, so I used the guitar in its stock state for a while, and I'll put a video, I think, of our first ever gig at the Water Rats. I'll put that in now. So if if I've got my editing right, you saw a crazy guitar solo being played on this to what an early version of What Kind of Man. Yeah, so this Strat, even in that state, could deliver things that most Stratocasters can't do. Most people pick up an Ibanez or something to play that kind of solo, but you know, this Strat did it. It was amazing. But then I decided to make some of my own personal customizations to this guitar. So you probably noticed that the starting price of this instrument is a bit higher than you'd expect for maybe a Mexican Strat. I've looked, like stock Mexican Strats are more expensive now than they used to be. So I'm looking and I'm seeing Strats for sale, the new ones, for sort of somewhere between 600 and 700 quid, which is a bit more than they were when I bought this. But that means the second-hand prices are a bit higher. So they're sort of, you know, anything from like 400 to 550 quid, something like that, for good ones. Now this one has had a lot of money spent on it, and I should say that I am not selling a guitar here that is pristine and is as new. It's not. This guitar has done probably about 200 live shows. It's very played in. It's got some marks on it. It's got bits of paint missing, like there's one there. Let's try and focus the camera on that. Can you see that? There's a bit of paint missing there. There was a body defect on the underside of that horn there, which I don't know if you can see. Let's have a look. That was there when it was new. I don't know if you can actually see it. It's got some other bangs, but nothing that serious actually. Yeah, so it's, you know, it's played a lot of shows, and it's a great guitar. It's stable. The neck is really stable. It stays in tune. Which not all guitars do. That's, you know, I've had a lot of different guitars and many of them didn't do that, so this is a solid guitar. So what did I do to it? Let's go through the modifications that I've done to this guitar. So starting at the headstock end, this nut has been replaced expertly cut by Gareth Lewis Guitar Repair in Cardiff. This is a Graphtec Tusk nut, so it doesn't stick at all, it doesn't wear at all. It's been expertly cut so that the string height has been worked out perfectly to get the best possible action on this guitar. The action is insanely low. You could lift it up if you're not comfortable with an action that low. And at the same time, he also did the frets for me. So we've got Dunlop 6100s on here, the biggest fret you can get. Yeah, you can see they're huge, and it keeps auto-focusing back onto me, but the finishing is just staggeringly good. It's as good as anything that you'd find from a boutique manufacturer. You can't really see that on here, but the fret edges are absolutely staggeringly good. And Gareth also put a compound radius onto the frets. The frets are so big and so tall that he was able to flatten them off as you come up the neck, which allows me to pull those ridiculous bends you hear me playing, like 4 or 5 fret bends on a Strat, which is remarkable. It plays like glass, and it's one of the easiest guitars to play that I've ever had. And the frets, obviously being so huge, there's no fret wear to speak of on them at all. So yeah, it's a Strat that plays like a Jackson or an Ibanez. It's crazy. In fact, it's probably as easy as you can get without scalloping the fingerboard. Yeah, so that's the frets and the neck. It's a beautiful shaped neck on this, by the way, and it is very played in, very smooth. I mean, the edges feel rolled because of what Gareth did to them. Something I also do with the neck is lightly sand the fingerboards. I do that periodically with a bit of wet and dry or a bit of wire wool. That's because I found that when the fingerboard's shiny, it kind of affected my fingers and the calluses on my fingers. So you'll see that there's like a sort of slightly matte finish on the fingerboard. You'll see that in person, you can't really see it here. But that's just something that will actually eventually, it will polish back up again with playing, and then I go over it again with a little bit of wire wool, very lightly, just to take the sheen off it. So on the body, after many pickup experiments, we have a matched set, we'll say a matched set of Seymour Duncan Classic stacks. So these are stacked single coils, so they're humbucking and they are noiseless basically. But they sound fantastic, and I've done a video on how these pickups sound, and I'll maybe put a link to that video in the screen here so you can see and click on and listen to these pickups. But there's loads of, I'm sure most of you have heard these pickups. Anyway, they are very classic Strat sounding. There's no particular vintage vibe to them. They are just what you would expect a good single coil to sound like. And they are matched, so there's a neck, a middle, and there's a bridge. Now, you'll see that obviously the bridge pickup in this guitar isn't, but I will include the original bridge classic stack. So these are the match set, neck, middle, and bridge. But here's the bridge one, okay? So if you wanted to put that back in, it's a straight swap, bit of soldering, easy, no problem at all. But in there at the moment is a hot rails, a Seymour Duncan hot rails. This gives you kind of a PAF vibe in the bridge pickup of the Strat, without it being too crazy a departure. You know, it's just a lot fatter, a lot meatier. It's obviously a humbucker, and it's a great sound. But if that isn't your vibe, then you can put this back in. Okay, there you go. What else have we got? So electrics, the switch has been replaced by a really high quality Schaller switch, like a super switch or something like that. This was all done at the same time. Again, it was professionally done by Gareth Lewis Guitar Repairs at a different time. And you'll notice I've taken out the volume pot. You could easily reinstate a volume pot here if you want, but basically we've got master volume and master tone. And the reason I do that is because my hand sits there on the guitar and the volume pot on a Strat is always in the way. So now we have master volume, master tone. It might be the sort of thing you hate. You can see the hole is still there in the pick guard. It's got a plug in it at the moment, but you could remove that and reinstate the volume pot where you wanted it and put another tone pot in. But if you want it to be my guitar, you can leave it as is. I think actually most guitarists, when they play this, have said this is really makes sense. You know, you've got a lot more space here when you're playing the guitar. And the pots that are in there are, I don't know who they're, I've got the receipts for this, so I don't know who they're made by, and I'd never seen anything like them before, but I basically gave Gareth the brief that I wanted a pot that would last a lifetime and would stand up to any amount of grease or grit or dirt or getting wet or whatever. So these pots in here cost about 45 quid each, right? They're completely sealed in plastic. I'd never seen anything like them before. They're like way more expensive than what are those pots called that everyone uses? You know the ones I'm talking about, don't you? I can't remember the name, but these are like another level altogether. And basically I was actually shocked when he said, oh, I put these in, and I was like, oh my God, it's like 90 quid for a pair of pots, but they're amazing. They don't make any noise, they don't crackle, they've survived. You can drop this guitar off a bridge and it'll still work. So that's what's under the pick guard. Again, all professionally wired. The switch, sorry, not the switch, the jack has also been replaced with a much higher quality dual earth jack. So you don't get any problems with the jack socket on this. The connections are tight, and basically I gave him the brief of sorting the electrics out in a Player Strat, and they're good anyway, but sorting them out so that it could just deal with like 1,000 gigs, like that's what I needed. And he did it, and I've never ever had a problem with this instrument on stage ever. It is amazing. So the last upgrade that I made to this guitar is the bridge. And this bridge consists of Graphtec saddle savers. So I've replaced these saddles. They're specifically the ones that are designed to go on the metric Mexican bridge. And they look very much like the old standard. They're solid block stainless steel, but they have, where the string crosses over, a bit of carbon, a bit of graphite there. And that's why they're called string savers. So I have never broken a string on this guitar since putting those on. It doesn't break strings. And on every other guitar, including my other Strat, I get through halfway through the second gig and I will always break a string because of the friction over the bridges, over the bridge saddles. But with this guitar, you don't break strings. It's currently set up to be locked off on the back. I don't actually think I have the tremolo on, but you can get a tremolo on. You know, who wants this tremolo to work? I don't know, not me. So this guitar was the guitar that I used for the whole of the Wanted album sessions. So this is the record. I'm sure many of you have got it. And yeah, I used this guitar in the studio through lots of great vintage amps, and it's the only guitar that's on that record, apart from one solo that was played by the producer. And it sounded incredible. I think we all know that it sounded incredible. I'm going to put some footage of me warming up with this guitar through a 50s tweed, I think it's a Vibrolux. Yeah, I'm going to put that in now. Yeah, so you can hear what this guitar sounds like, and you can hear how it plays. It is limitless. That's the guitar. That's my Strat, and I'm selling it partly because I need to, and partly because it's time to move on. And look, I just thought, you know, this guitar is probably going to be sold to somebody who I don't know. Somebody sees it on eBay or whatever, but I know a lot of people in the UK music scene now and in the European music scene, and a lot of people have talked to me about this guitar, and some of you have played it and held it, and it's got a lot of love. It's not perfect, as I said. This has done 200 shows, you know, and it's been played hard, but I can promise you, if you do buy it, it comes with a gig bag, which is a little bit tatty, but it's a Fender gig bag. It works. You know, it's got marks on it. There's patina forming on the paint. There's bits of wear on the neck, but there aren't any dings or anything on the neck. Yeah, it is what it is, and it's a piece of my history and a piece of the band's history. But if you do buy it, it will come set up how you want it. So if you tell me what kind of action you want, I will set it up for that. Everything is always perfectly adjusted on this guitar. The truss rod's perfectly adjusted. I will put whatever strings on it you want in whatever tuning you want. So if you want 11s tuned to D, I'll do it. If you want 9s at concert, I'll do it. I will, yeah, basically set it up for you. And as I said, this is the Hot Rails box, but in that is the original bridge pickups part of that set, which I'll include. So let's get on to what you're getting when you get this guitar. This guitar probably would go to somebody who is a bit like me, who is incredibly particular about what they want out of a guitar. And yeah, what you'll get, so this will appeal to you if you're that guy as well, okay? You're getting a Mexican Player Strat, which nowadays is going to cost you 600 quid, 550, no, more than that, 600 quid minimum really, sometimes 700, 750, because the prices have gone up. You're getting a fret job and the nut, which is 250 quid's worth of work by an incredible, one of the best luthiers in the country. You're getting a set of pickups, including the other pickup, which is probably at least 250 quid's worth of pickups. What am I saying? More. Actually, I think it is way more than that. I think it's 225 quid just for the set of classic stacks, and you're getting a Hot Rails. So it's probably closer to 340, something like that. So what are we up to? There's probably an additional 600 quid there, and that's without 90 quid's worth of pots, switch, jack socket, and all of the work that it took to do that, the labour that it took to do all of that. And you're getting a guitar that's done 200 of the hardest gigs you could possibly throw at a guitar, because if you've been to see us play, you know how hard these instruments work. So it's got all that history. It will be clean and set up perfectly. And if you are a fan of 5 Points Gang and you've been there from the beginning and you play a bit of guitar and you want this guitar in your collection that recorded that album, then this is your opportunity to do it. And it's also your opportunity to, by proxy, give something to charity as part of that. So I'll leave you with a bit of playing from a video or something like that of this wonderful guitar doing its thing. But yeah, here it is. Unfortunately, you won't be getting the Strat because that was a gift, and if I gave you that as part of the deal, well, my life wouldn't be worth living anymore. But yeah, I've been Joe, and apart from everything else, we had a great tour in Europe. We came back a couple of weeks ago and it was really successful. First time going over and doing a load of gigs there. So we're definitely going to be doing more of that. And apart from that, we'll see you at one of the gigs around the country soon. Yeah, thanks for watching, and there'll be a link to the auction posted below this video. All right, cheers guys, thank you very much.